The cold light in the dressing room was like fine needles, stinging Isabella's eyes until they pricked with tears. She adjusted her in-ear monitor in the mirror, her fingers slipping along its edge again and again. Not from nerves, but because her foot, whose heel Sophia had stepped on and broken during rehearsal last week, was still swollen, leaving her fingers weak too. Taped to the mirror was a poster for Lumina's Milan debut. At 17, she stood tucked in the far corner. The excitement of breaking through the auditions 3 months earlier had long been ground into grit in her chest by days of cold indifference. Mascara. Sophia's voice cut through the air suddenly, her Russian-accented Italian sharp as shards of ice. She thrust a makeup brush into Isabella's palm. Build it up more at the outer corner of my left eye. Stop trembling. When Isabella bowed her head to take the brush, her wrist was suddenly scratched by fingernails, a sharp pain shooting through her. She bit her lower lip to muffle a gasp. This was a third time. The first had been during dance practice last week, when Sophia lost her balance and slammed into her, leaving a purple bruise on her knee. The second was the day before yesterday. Everyone else received a text about a changed rehearsal time, but she didn't. When she arrived, she found only an empty studio. Why are you shaking? Sophia glared at her through the mirror, the rhinestones on her false eyelashes glinting dizzily. Do you think sharing the stage with an outsider like me dishonors your precious Italian star group? Maria, the makeup artist, paused with her powder puff and coughed softly. Girls, we're on in 20 minutes. The headset technician is already at the door. Isabella dipped the brush into the mascara, forcing a soft smile. Almost done, Sophia. Just as the brush was about to touch the outer corner of Sophia's eye, Sophia suddenly whipped her head around. The sneeze landed directly on Isabella's wrist, and black mascara smudged across Sophia's temple, like a thin streak of blood. You did that on purpose. Sophia shot to her feet, the chair scraping against the floor with a shrill screech that crashed into Isabella's still-swollen knee. She grabbed a wet wipe from the table and scrubbed her face fiercely until her skin flushed red. You've hated me since day one, haven't you? Thinking I, a Russian, have tainted your group? Thinking I only got in by sleeping with the judges? The air in the dressing room froze. When Luca, their manager, pushed open the door, he walked in just as tears spilled from Sophia's eyes. He frowned and slammed a tablet onto the vanity. What's going on? I could hear you from backstage. She called me a whore's daughter. Sophia pointed at Isabella, the chain on her wrist jangling, and said I only made the group by sleeping with the judges. Luca, listen to her. This is your so-called pure-blooded Italian girl? Isabella's blood turned to ice. Even the mascara on her fingertips seemed to freeze. I didn't, that's enough. Luca cut her off, jerking his chin toward the door. Get on stage first. We'll talk after the show. The piano intro of their song drifted over from the stage, and suddenly, Sophia's sniffling filtered into Isabella's in-ear monitor. Broken, disjointed, clashing horribly with the sweet love song they were supposed to sing. The glow sticks in the audience slowly lowered after a moment, and faint murmurs seeped through the gaps in her headset, like cold water pouring down her back. During the curtain call, Isabella was still trying to figure out how to explain to Luca when she saw Sophia suddenly drop to her knees in the center of the stage. Instinctively, she reached out to help, but Sophia struck her wrist violently. Sophia's voice trembled with sobs. No microphone was on, but the front row audience could see everything clearly. Please stop bullying me. I just want to sing. The air in the backstage lounge was even colder than the dressing room. Luca slammed his tablet onto the coffee table. The screen lit up with a trending page where #LuminaBullying had rocketed to third place. The top video was a slow-motion clip of Sophia kneeling, captioned, Russian girl bullied by Italian group. This is the unity of the EU? The PR team just sent over a plan. Luca avoided Isabella's eyes, swiping his finger across the tablet. You'll take a temporary leave from the group and go back to Naples for a while. Sophia will film an apology video, framing this as a misunderstanding within the team to defuse the hype. Isabella dug her nails into her palm, the pain jolting her awake. She framed me. Maria was right there. She can testify. Maria signed a non-disclosure agreement. Luca pulled a termination agreement from a folder and slid it toward her. Sign this. The company won't make you pay the penalty fee. We're being more than reasonable. Isabella's fingers turned white as she gripped the edge of the agreement. As she walked out of the lounge, she heard laughter from the end of the hallway. She crept along the wall toward it and heard Sophia talking on the phone. Yes, everything went according to plan. Luca's already on board. Don't mention Maria. She got paid. She won't say a word. When Sophia saw Isabella, she hung up, walked over, and patted her shoulder, her nails digging into Isabella's skin. What a shame. Your star dream shattered so quickly. Isabella rushed into the bathroom and retched over the toilet for ages. When she splashed cold water on her face, Her phone suddenly vibrated wildly. La Sheng number, strange number, had sent her an MMS. The photo showed the door to her Naples apartment, splattered with red paint. The words "Russian whore, get out" were scrawled crookedly across it, searing her eyes. The caption was short. "This is just the start." She fumbled to call her mother. She'd barely said hello when her mother's sobs burst through the line. "Honey, the TV station just called. They're canceling your milk endorsement, and they're making us pay a penalty fee." On the subway home, everyone stared at their phones, heads bowed. Isabella buried her face in her scarf, afraid even to breathe too loudly. But she still heard two girls talking behind her. "Is that her? The one who pushed Sophia in the video? She looks so mean. I heard she called Sophia a whore. That's disgusting." A few people stood outside her apartment building, holding a banner that read, "Expel the bully." She circled to the back entrance, only to find the keyhole glued shut. Her key wouldn't fit. An elderly neighbor saw her through the peephole. The light behind it went out instantly, followed by a soft click, the sound of a deadbolt sliding shut. At T3 in the morning, Isabella huddled in the bathtub. The hot water had long gone cold. Her phone screen stayed on as she scrolled through her social media accounts over and over. The latest comment was a photoshopped obituary. Her face was pasted onto a coffin with the caption, "Die soon, so you don't dirty Milan's stage." It started raining outside, and a crack in the ceiling leaked water, each drop splashing into the bathtub, sending up tiny ripples. She suddenly remembered the day of the auditions, when a judge had held her hand and said, "Isabella, there are stars in your eyes. Keep them shining." Now those stars seemed to have shattered, mixing with the rainwater and seeping into the cracks of the floor. Her phone vibrated again. Another text from a Washung number. "Heard you're short on money? Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., room 2806 at the Four Seasons. Come, and I'll fix the red paint mess for you." She sat up abruptly, water sloshing over the edge of the tub. Another pervert. She was about to delete the message when Luca called. "There's a German millionaire who wants to meet you." Luca's voice was politer than usual. "His name is Marcus Hansen. He says he'll pay 3 times the penalty fee to get you out of your contract, and he'll take care of the red paint too." The next night, in the private room of room 2806 at the Four Seasons, the light from the crystal chandelier fell on Marcus's custom-tailored suit, casting a dull sheen. He handed her a glass of champagne, his fingertips brushing her wrist. "I've seen your performance videos, Starlight. The vibrato in your high notes is unique. A true artist shouldn't be buried." His English carried a German accent, deep and smooth like a cello's hum, gentle enough to make her dizzy. Isabella held the stem of the glass, not daring to take a sip. "Mr. Hansen, why are you helping me? We've never met. Munich needs a cultural ambassador like you." Marcus wrapped his hand around her wrist, his thumb brushing the crescent-shaped mark on her palm, the one she'd made by digging her nails into it while holding the termination agreement, still faint. "And of course, I need someone to watch the Alps with me." 3 months later, they stood in Munich City Hall and signed their civil marriage certificate. Marcus pressed a set of keys into her palm. A penthouse apartment. You can see the snow on the Alps in the morning. When he kissed her forehead, the scent of his cologne was thick, masking the faint smell of antiseptic on his cuff. She wouldn't learn until later that it had come from the ointment he'd bought at the pharmacy after hitting a maid and on the 6th week of her pregnancy. Isabella flipped through a performance contract from the Milan Opera House, something she'd secretly asked her old manager to secure for her. Marcus walked over, snatched the contract away, and tossed it into the nearby shredder. "The doctor said you need rest. No overexertion." He spread caviar on toast with elegant movements, as if he'd just thrown away a scrap of paper. "I'll pay the penalty fee. You don't have to worry about it." But it's the Milan Opera House. It had been her childhood dream. She could almost picture herself standing on that stage, bathed in stage lights. "This is where you belong now." Marcus placed an ultrasound photo over the shredder's opening. The image showed 2 tiny gestational sacs. The doctor had said the week before that they were twins. The wedding ring on his ring finger pressed right over the spot where their tiny hearts would be. "Your job now is to give birth to these children." In her 3rd trimester, Isabella found her credit cards no longer worked. She went to the study to find Marcus, who was sorting through a stack of receipts. He didn't look up as he handed her a stack of euros. "My accountant says the money you lost from the endorsement has used up all my tax loss allowances. Cash is safer." She didn't dare ask what tax loss allowances meant. She only knew that from that day on, she had to ask Marcus for cash even to buy groceries. The night she gave birth, Marcus held a video camera pointed at the delivery bed, the lens inches from her face. "Stop filming." Isabella clutched the sheets, trembling with pain, but he adjusted the focus. The Hansen family requires complete documentation. It's a rule. At Emily's 2nd birthday party, Isabella secretly sent a voice message to a record label, saying she wanted to try recording a demo. Marcus found out. No one knew how, and smashed a champagne glass on the spot, Shards of glass scraped Emily's hand. The guests were still singing Happy Birthday when Marcus walked over, smiling, his nails digging into the stretch marks on the inside of her thigh. Do you want our daughter to watch her mother flirting with men on stage? Isabella, don't forget who you belong to now. When she was 4 months pregnant with her second child, Isabella was sorting through Marcus's suits in the laundry room when she felt another phone in his pocket. She just turned on the screen when she heard footsteps from the bathroom. Marcus had finished a shower. She stuffed the phone back in his pocket in a panic, her heart pounding louder than the washing machine's hum. Did you touch my things? Marcus walked in, drying his hair, water droplets sliding down his abs into his towel. He stepped forward, grabbed the back of her neck, and slammed her against the still warm dryer. The heat burned her back. Didn't that Russian whore teach you to be honest? His nails dug into her neck. Warm blood dripped onto the white onesie in her hands, like a row of tiny red buttons. The next morning, the preschool teacher called. Isabella was pressing an ice pack to her nose. Marcus had pushed her into the nightstand the night before, bruising it. Mrs. Hanson, Emily says Daddy hit the cat with a belt and locked it in a cabinet. Do you? Isabella cut her off. Teacher, children have such vivid imaginations. Marcus loves animals. Don't worry. She hung up and looked at her bruised nose in the mirror, suddenly feeling exhausted. She went to a law firm and found a female lawyer. The office smelled like leather and coffee. You'll need a medical report documenting your injuries first and evidence of Marcus's domestic violence. The lawyer pushed a box of tissues toward her. But domestic violence cases in Munich take an average of 11 months to process. Since you're pregnant, you might need to find a safe place first. Isabella touched her belly, which was already slightly rounded. What if I can film him being violent? Would that count as evidence? She found her old phone in a bedroom drawer, charged it, and turned it on. The moment the screen lit up, a text from Sophia, sent 5 years earlier, popped up. Isabella, I'll make sure you never stand on stage again. Just wait. She stared at the message, her fingers hovering over the screen, when another new message appeared. It was from Marcus, sent to this number the night before. Get rid of that Italian bitch soon. Don't let her ruin things for me. The day the Child Protection Agency came to investigate, Marcus was in the living room reading Emily a picture book, The Bear Family. He read it in soft German, as if telling a real fairy tale. Daddy loves Emily and Mommy the most. As soon as the investigator left, he tore off his tie, grabbed her hair, and yanked her toward him. You're asking for death, aren't you? Daring to call them here to investigate me? Isabella stepped back, protecting her belly, and her lower back slammed into the open kitchen island. The pain made her gasp. Marcus grabbed a stainless steel blender from the counter and raised it to hit her. It would have crushed her if Emily hadn't run in, holding a crayon drawing. Daddy, look at my family picture. The blender flew past Isabella's ear and crashed into the tile floor, spiderweb cracks spreading across the surface. Isabella looked at the strawberry hair clip in her daughter's blonde hair, then steadied herself. She knelt down and stroked Emily's head. Emily, how about we go to Switzerland tomorrow to see Neuschwanstein Castle? Late that night, Isabella sat in the guest bathroom, searching for German cross-border divorce procedures on her phone. A message suddenly popped up on a dating app from a man named Lucas. I know a divorce lawyer in Zurich who's good with domestic violence cases. Need help? His profile picture was taken on a Swiss Schittern, snow-capped mountain, his smile bright. The blinding white snow reminded her of the Alps Marcus had taken her to when he proposed. Are you sure you want to contact him now? Her therapist's words echoed in her head from the week before. People who've just escaped abusive relationships often rush to seek help and end up falling into another trap. She bit through the scab on her lower lip and typed, I need the lawyer's contact info, and I'm in danger right now. The moment she hit send, she heard the sound of Marcus shaving in the bathroom. She stuffed her phone behind the toilet tank in a panic point 3 days later. In a cafe at Munich Central Station, Lucas pushed a folder toward her. Their fingers brushed accidentally. His cuff smelled of lemon verbena. Fresh, nothing like Marcus's aftershave, which always carried a cold, metallic scent, especially after he hit her. The key to the divorce is proving Marcus is mentally unstable. Lucas opened the folder, revealing several surveillance screenshots. Like this, audio of him smashing vases in the villa last week. I got it from friend at the police station. Isabella suddenly grabbed his wrist. How could you get police surveillance footage? Who are you, really? Don't worry, I'm not a bad guy. Lucas covered her hand with his. She could feel thin calluses on his palm, the kind someone gets from holding a gun often. There was a faint white ring mark on his ring finger, much lighter than Marcus's, as if he'd worn a ring long ago and then taken it off. Emily, in her high chair, suddenly cried. She dropped her strawberry cake on the floor. Lucas immediately pulled a lollipop from his pocket, knelt down, and handed it to her. Little one, let Uncle unwrap this for you, okay? When he knelt, his hair fell forward slightly, revealing a small patch of skin on the back of his neck. There was a snake tattoo there, thin, like a small snake coiled around his neck. Isabella suddenly remembered a prison documentary she'd watched once. One of the fraudsters had the exact same tattoo on his neck. That night, after Marcus slammed the door and left, claiming an emergency at the company, Lucas messaged her again. Bring the kids to Neuschwanstein tomorrow. I booked a family suite. I'll bring the lawyer's power of attorney too. It'll be safer to talk there. Isabella pressed the phone to her chest. At 5 months pregnant, the baby's kicks were obvious, as if tapping her ribs. She walked to the wardrobe and looked at herself in the mirror. Her lips were black and blue, just like they'd been 5 years earlier in the dressing room, when Sophia had tormented her. Both times, she'd been injured. Both times, she'd been begging for a way out. The suite at Neuschwanstein was huge, with a hidden door in the bathroom. It's an old Victorian design, used to hide valuables back in the day, Lucas said. Emily was smearing strawberry jam on his suit as he spoke. The pink stain stood out sharply against the dark gray fabric. Lucas laughed and wiped it off with a napkin, his movements gentle, but Isabella remembered that Marcus had been just as gentle when he fixed her cufflinks. Right before he hit her for the first time, "Mommy." Emily ran over, holding a diamond hair clip that sparkled in the light. Uncle Luke said, "This is for princesses. Can you put it on me?" Isabella took the hair clip. Her fingers brushed Emily's wrist, and she felt a faint red mark, like one left by a tight grip. She looked up at Lucas, who was on the phone, his back to them, his voice too low to hear. Late at night, Emily was fast asleep. Isabella tiptoed into the living room. Lucas was asleep on the sofa, his phone on a coffee table next to him. She picked it up. The lock screen was a selfie of them from the cafe the day before, one Lucas had insisted on taking. For memories, he'd said. She unlocked it. The password was her birthday. Easier to remember, Lucas had told her. But the home screen was a photo of a stranger, a woman holding a baby, her blonde hair just like Emily's. The latest video in the album was of Marcus hitting her in the parking lot the week before, filmed clearly. At the bottom, it was labeled, Target Behavior Analysis Number 3. The sound of running water in the bathroom stopped suddenly. Isabella locked the phone in a panic, but accidentally opened the email app. In the inbox was an email from the Greek police with an extradition document attached. The photo on it was of Lucas in a prison uniform, thinner than he was now, his eyes cold and fierce. At the bottom of the document, it read, 2018 Athens, Greece extortion case victim, Sophia Lebedeva. Couldn't sleep. Lucas's wet arm wrapped around her from behind. His chin rested on her shoulder. His breath smelled of body wash, but when he licked her ear, it was exactly like Marcus. The trial's next week. We need to take some couple photos, so the judge thinks you'll be safer with me. At breakfast the next morning, the TV was playing the news. Footage of police arresting a group of men, with the headline Transnational Romance Scam Gang Apprehended. Involves over 10 million euros. Lucas suddenly stood up and changed the channel, his knife scraping against his plate with a shrill sound that made Emily drop her fork. "Uncle, you hurt me." When Emily bent down to pick up the fork, Lucas stepped on her hand accidentally. She screamed. The way he grabbed her wrist was nothing like the gentle way he'd taught her to tie her shoes the day before. This time, his knuckles turned white from the force on the train back to Munich. Isabella pretended to sleep, but left a crack between her eyelids. She watched Lucas send a voice message, speaking in Greek, with a few German words mixed in. All she could make out was "the fish is hooked," and "get ready to close the net." His twisted accent was just like Sophia's Russian-accented Italian, when she'd framed her 5 years earlier. It made her blood run cold. That was when the Child Protection Agency called. Isabella had just slipped Lucas's forgotten lighter into her bag. "Mrs. Hansen, Mr. Hansen has reported that you're letting someone with a history of child abuse have contact with Emily. We need to verify this with you." Isabella looked out the window. Marcus's Mercedes was following the train, not too close, not too far. The rear window rolled down slightly. She saw Emily's small face pressed against the glass, her mouth shaped like "Mommy," but no sound came out. Lucas's last message arrived at midnight, 10 a.m. tomorrow. "Bring all your cash to the usual place, Central Station Cafe. Otherwise, I'll post the video of Marcus hitting you online. And your prenatal photos are pretty exciting too." The attachment was a photo. Her half-dressed on the floor, Marcus's foot on her waist. In the corner, Lucas's polished leather shoes were clearly visible. She'd thought it was a friend of Marcus's who took it, but it had been Lucas all along. Isabella touched her belly. The baby kicked again. The fridge light was on, casting cold light on the abortion consent form Marcus had forced her to sign the day before. "This baby will ruin the divorce case," he'd said. Her fingers hovered over the signature line, trembling violently. Her phone vibrated. Another text from Marcus. "I'll pick Emily up at 9 a.m. tomorrow. See you in court. Don't try anything stupid." She slammed the folder shut. Her elbow knocked over a milk bottle on the counter. White milk spilled over Lucas's forgotten lighter. The metal surface reflected her face, swollen eyes, a black and blue lip, like a broken doll. "Mommy." Emily stood in the kitchen doorway, clutching her tattered teddy bear, her blonde hair messy, her eyes still half closed. Daddy said we're taking a big plane, going far away. Isabella knelt down to meet her daughter's eyes. She noticed a new red mark on Emily's wrist, in the exact same spot Lucas had grabbed the day before. We're just staying with Daddy for a few days. Mommy will come get you soon. She picked Emily up and hugged her, and smelled an unfamiliar cigarette smell in her daughter's hair. Not Marcus's cigar, but a cheap, acrid smoke. She'd smelled it on Lucas before. Is Uncle Luke coming too? Emily rested her head on Isabella's shoulder, her voice soft. No, Uncle Luke has other things to do. Isabella swallowed, the metallic taste in her throat. Mommy will protect you. I promise. Early the next morning, Marcus's Mercedes was parked downstairs. He rolled down the window, his sunglasses covering half his face, only a cold smile visible. Put the luggage in the trunk. Don't make me wait. Isabella stuffed Emily's small suitcase into the trunk. From the back seat, she heard a woman's laughter, someone she didn't know. Emily sat in her car seat, her face pressed to the window. Isabella wanted to tell her, remember to drink your milk, but Marcus rolled up the window. The tires drove through a puddle on the road, splashing mud on her knee-high socks. Cold and wet. 3 days later, Sandra from the Child Protection Agency called. Isabella was sorting through evidence of Lucas's fraud. She'd save his emails and photos on a USB drive, hidden in the sole of her shoe. Mrs. Hanson, Emily vomited at preschool. When we went to pick her up, we found bruises on her buttocks. Can you come over? Isabella spilled her coffee all over her keyboard. She grabbed her bag and ran out the door. I'll be right there. Don't let Marcus near her. In a preschool infirmary, Emily huddled on the exam table, her small face pale. A nurse handed Isabella a wet towel. She said she fell in the shower, but those bruises don't look like fall marks. They look like they were made by something hitting her. Baby. Isabella gently pulled down Emily's pants and gasped. There were several parallel red marks on her buttocks, like whiplashes, and a large purple bruise on her spine like spilled paint. Emily suddenly grabbed the collar of her shirt. Her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. The bad uncle hit Teddy with a belt and forced Teddy's mouth open, peed in it. He said if I told Mommy, he'd throw me in the pool. Sandra paused, her pen hovering over a notebook. Which bad uncle? Mr. Hanson. No, Daddy's friend. Emily buried her face in Isabella's neck, still trembling. He has a gold chain, smells like stinky cigarettes. Just like Uncle Luke's cigarettes. Isabella's heart sank. She remembered the box of Cuban cigars in Marcus's study. And in the video call with Marcus the week before, a man with a gold chain had been sitting next to him. Marcus had called him a business partner. On the drive home, Emily was quiet in her car seat, not chattering like usual. At a red light, Isabella looked in the rearview mirror and saw Emily putting a crayon in her mouth. There was a yellow stain on it, like some kind of liquid. Spit it out. Isabella pulled over in a panic, snatching the crayon from her. Her fingers touched the yellow stain. It smelled like urine. The bad uncle said it's chocolate, told me to lick it. Tears rolled down Emily's cheeks. He also told me to lick the poo on his fingers. Said he'd hit Teddy if I didn't. Isabella's stomach churned. She pushed open the car door and retched until tears streamed down her face. Sandra called again. We found out the man with the gold chain is Cohen. He has a record. 4 years ago, he was convicted of abusing his stepson. Marcus did invite him to the house last week. Late that night, Emily screamed in her sleep, yelling, "Don't push me into the pool." Isabella held her in the bathtub, warm water running over the burn marks on her daughter's inner thigh. Cohen had done it with a cigarette. It hurts like a little bug bite, Emily had said. Mommy, why's the pool water yellow? Emily played with a rubber duck in her hand, her voice soft. The bad uncle pushed my head under. I drank so much it smelled bad. Isabella called Marcus 18 times before he answered. In the background, she heard clinking glasses and a woman's laughter. Are you teaching our daughter to lie again? Marcus's voice was slurred with alcohol. Cohen's my friend. Why would he hurt Emily? Cohen peed on Emily's face. He burned her with a cigarette. Isabella's voice trembled. The preschool has surveillance. You can't get away with this. What a shame. Marcus chuckled. The preschool surveillance system broke last week. They're repairing it. Didn't you get the notice? Steam from the bathroom fogged the mirror. Isabella looked at her reflection. Her pupils were wide, like black holes. Emily suddenly pointed at her belly. Mommy, sister's crying. I can hear her. Isabella looked down. The water in the tub had turned pink. Her water had broken, mixed with blood. She fumbled for her phone to call 120. The operator's voice sounded distant, as if coming from underwater. Please stay calm. Tell us your address. The sound of ambulance sirens grew closer. Emily clung to the paramedic's stethoscope. Don't let the bad uncle pick me up. I want Mommy. Between contractions, Isabella gripped Sandra's hand tightly. Don't let Marcus or Cohen near the kids. Please. As the stretcher was wheeled into the emergency room, she heard a nurse gasp. The patient's blood pressure is dropping to 70. Prepare for a blood transfusion. The light from the operating lamp fell on her face, just as bright as the stage lights in Milan 5 years earlier, but without any of that warmth that in a daze, she felt her phone vibrate her bag. It was an MMS from Lucas. The photo showed Marcus and Cohen standing by the pool. Cohen held a belt, and Emily's small swimsuit floated in the water, like a tattered rag. The phone kept vibrating, but she didn't have the strength to look. Patient's hemorrhaging. Prepare for surgery. The doctor's voice was urgent. Someone pressed an oxygen mask to her face. The baby, she moved her lips, but no sound came out. She remembered Lucas's words when he taught her to film Marcus. When people are in pain, their guard is down. They're most likely to show their true colors. But now, she could barely even feel the pain. Mrs. Hanson, your daughter is healthy. It's a girl. Sandra's voice came from beside her. Emily is in the care of the protection agency, for now. You can rest easy. Isabella's fingers twitched. She felt the obstetric scissors under her pillow, the ones she'd taken from the hospital drawer, intended to defend herself against Marcus. Now, she couldn't even lift them. The button for the painkiller pump was right beside her hand. She pressed it. Cold liquid flowed into her veins, easing the pain slightly. Did Marcus come? She whispered. The nurse shook her head. Mr. Hanson signed the birth certificate and left. He said he'll talk about custody when you're discharged. Dawn was breaking outside. The green light from the heart monitor cast a glow on the wall. Isabella stared at the crack in the ceiling. The same crack that had been in her Naples apartment 5 years earlier. Her phone vibrated again. Sandra picked it up for her. It was an email from the Child Protection Agency, with Emily's injury report attached. Perianal lacerations consistent with adult finger diameter. Buttock bruises consistent with belt strikes. Inner thigh injuries consistent with cigarette burns. Milk suddenly soaked through Isabella's hospital gown, leaving dark stains on her chest. She remembered Emily's words. The bad uncle poked my little, but with his finger. Tears streamed from the corners of her eyes into her hair. We've applied for an emergency protection order. The judge agreed to temporarily revoke Marcus's custody rights. Sandra closed her tablet. All you need to do now is rest. You'll have to testify at the trial next week. Isabella closed her eyes. She suddenly remembered the day of the auditions, when she'd sung Starlight. The judges had smiled and said her voice was like light. But now, that light seemed to have been snuffed out by Marcus, Lucas, Sophia, all of them. Late at night, after the nurse's rounds, Isabella called Lucas. It rang 7 times before he answered. In the background, she heard the whir of a casino roulette wheel. Baby, missing me? Lucas's Greek accent was thick and sticky, like flies caught in honey. How much do you want to delete those photos and videos? Isabella's voice was soft, afraid of waking her newborn daughter in the adjacent nursery. The price went up. Lucas exhaled a smoke ring. His voice hissed like a snake. Cash. Plus you give Marcus custody of Emily. He said he'll split half the money with me if you give up guardianship. The heart monitor's line spiked sharply. Isabella's breath came in ragged gasps. Through the observation window on the ward door, she saw a familiar figure. Marcus. How was he here? You think Marcus actually wants a divorce? Lucas laughed. He just wants you to give up custody. Then he'll have you committed to a mental hospital. That way, he can live with Emily and Cohen. Oh, and Sophie is one of us too. Framing you 5 years ago, that was to push you into a corner, so you'd have no choice but to marry Marcus. Isabella dug her nails into her surgical stitches. The pain jolted her awake. She hung up, switched her phone to recording mode, and hid it under her pillow. She needed to capture this, to use as evidence. The intercom in neonatal unit suddenly crackled. Attention family of bed 213. Your twin son's vital signs are unstable. Please report to the NICU immediately. Isabella dragged her for stand, staggering down the hallway. Behind the glass, nurses were performing CPR on a tiny baby. Mrs. Hanson, please stay calm. A nurse stopped her. Your daughter is fine. It's your son who's in trouble. Isabella collapsed onto a bench. Milk and blood mixed, dripping onto the floor. The doctor walked out, pulling off his mask. I'm sorry. We did everything we could. The baby didn't make it. She walked into the NICU and looked at her newborn daughter in the incubator. A name tag hung around the baby's ankle. Hanson Leah. The word Hanson burned her eyes. It was Marcus's last name, the one she'd spent her whole life trying to escape. Early the next morning, Sandra arrived at the hospital with a file folder. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. The child abuse trial is next week. This is the audio of Emily's testimony and Cohen's criminal record. She pulled out a photo and handed it to Isabella. This is Cohen burning Emily's crayons with a lighter. A preschool nurse took it secretly. Isabella took the photo. Emily's crayon was on fire, and Cohen was holding her head, forcing her to watch the flames. She tore the photo to shreds. The pieces fell to the floor like her shattered stars. I need to see Emily. She pulled out her 4-needle, blood oozing from her hand. Now, in the play area of the children's shelter, Emily sat at a small table, drawing. When she saw Isabella, she dropped her crayon and ran over, throwing herself into her arms. "Mommy, where's sister? I want to see her." Isabella hugged her daughter, noticing the purple crayon smudged under Emily's fingernails. It was her favorite color, the one she used every time she drew. "Sister's in the hospital. When Mommy gets better, I'll bring you to see her." Emily suddenly pulled a colorful candy from her pocket, its wrapper glinting metallically. "Uncle Luke gave me this. He said it'll turn me into a princess." "I didn't eat it." Isabella's heart tightened. She took the candy quickly. "Baby, never eat anything a stranger gives you, okay?" She stuffed it in her bag. She suspected it had a tracker, the kind Lucas used to follow her out on the drive back to the hospital. The taxi driver had a family photo hanging from his rearview mirror. For children, all smiling, their dimples identical. Isabella looked at the photo and thought of Emily's family picture. Tears fell again. Outside her hospital room, Marcus's lawyer was talking to a nurse. When he saw Isabella, he walked over and held out a pen. "Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Hanson agrees to a divorce, but he wants you to give up custody of both children. Otherwise, he'll sue you for mental instability, claiming you're unfit to parent." The price tag on his watch was enough to cover 10 years of Emily's therapy. "I won't give up custody." Isabella pushed the pen back. "See you in court. I'll make the judge hear what Marcus and Cohen did." The lawyer sneered. "Do you think the judge will believe a woman driven to madness by domestic violence? Or a wealthy, respected businessman?" He turned and walked away, leaving Isabella standing there, her body cold. The TV was playing the news. On the screen, Lucas was being led away by police. His bright smile was gone, replaced by a jungling scowl. Lucas Costa, leader of a transnational romance scam gang, arrested. The gang is accused of exploiting domestic violence victims' desperation to extort money. 12 suspects have been apprehended so far. Isabella watched the TV and suddenly laughed. Lucas had fallen too. Next, it would be Marcus and Cohen's turn. When the nurse came in with her medicine, Isabella asked, "Where's my old phone?" "The one I hid behind the toilet tank." Sandra took it. She said, "It's evidence. There are texts from Sophia on it, right?" The nurse set the medicine on the table. Sandra said Sophia will testify at the trial next week too. Isabella nodded and took the medicine. She looked out the window. March snow was falling again, just like the snow in Milan 5 years earlier, white and pure, as if it could cover up all the filth. But she knew some filth could only be cleaned away by the law. On the day of the trial, Isabella went to the courthouse in a wheelchair. Emily sat beside Sandra, clutching a new teddy bear. Sandra had bought it for her. The old one had been beaten to pieces by Cohen in the courtroom. Marcus wore a suit, looking refined and elegant. But as the judge played the video of Marcus's violence and photos of Cohen abusing Emily, his face turned paler and paler. When Sophia testified, she cried, saying she'd been threatened by Lucas into framing Isabella. She even pulled out bank records showing Lucas's transfers to her. "I was so scared," Sophia sobbed. "Lucas said he'd leak my past mistakes online if I didn't frame you. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry, Isabella." Isabella looked at Sophia and suddenly felt ridiculous. If Sophia hadn't been cornered, she would have kept helping Lucas and Marcus. Finally, the judge banged his gavel. Marcus Hanson, guilty of domestic violence and child abuse, sentenced to 8 years in prison. Cohen Miller, guilty of child abuse, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Lucas Costa, guilty of extortion and assault, sentenced to 12 years in prison. Sofia Lebedeva, guilty of perjury, sentenced to 1 year in prison, with 2 years of probation. In that moment when the verdict was announced, tears fell from Isabella's eyes, not from sorrow, but from relief. She looked at Emily, who was looking back at her, stars shining in her eyes, just like Isabella's had when she was little. 8 months later, spring came to Munich, and the snow on the Alps began to melt. Isabella pushed a stroller, walking in the park with Emily and Leah. Sandra walked over, handing her a newspaper. "Look, your case led to Germany revising the Domestic Violence and Child Protection Act. Now domestic violence cases are processed in 3 months, and it's easier to apply for temporary child custody." On the front page was a photo of Isabella testifying in court, her eyes steady and determined. Next to it, the headline read, "From Victim to Advocate. Isabella's courage lights the way for domestic violence survivors." Emily suddenly pointed at a cherry blossom tree in the distance. "Mommy, look, the cherry blossoms are blooming. Do they look like stars?" Isabella looked up. The tree was covered in pink blossoms, glistening in the sun, just like stars. She knelt down and stroked Emily's hair. "Yes, they do. There are stars, and they'll never shatter again." Leah laughed in the stroller, her small hand wrapping around Isabella's finger. Isabella looked at her 2 daughters, warmth filling her chest. Her stars hadn't shattered. They'd just found a new way to shine again.